Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We turn our attention to cricket. Windies all-rounder Rovman Powell has been speaking ahead of the three-match T20 series against host New Zealand, which starts on November 27. Powell has commented on the measures implemented by the New Zealand authorities that will allow spectators to watch the games.
Definitely, it's an important tour, not just to the West Indies team, but also for me. You mentioned not scoring a lot of runs in CPL, that is behind me. It was a difficult competition for me, but, brighter things now. I have 3 T20 games here that I'm looking forward to, so hopefully I can put my best foot forward with quality training sessions leading up to this game.
The all-rounder has also been talking about his form heading into the series.
It's been a while, it's been a few months, maybe the longest cricket has ever gone without playing in front crowds, so it's good that New Zealand have dealt with their COVID situation as how they have, so that we can be able to play in front crowds here in New Zealand.
All right, with Lendl Simmons, Andre Russell and Evan Lewis missing from the tour, Powell was asked how the team's batting will cope against a Kiwi attack.
If you should look on the depth of the team, I think it's a very good and a very strong team as it regards power hitting, with the exception, with those guys being missing. But what that does, those guys being missing, what that does is that it provides an opportunity. It provides an opportunity for us as younger players, just before the World Cup, just before the start of Cricket 2021, to put our best foot forward, and put good performance in places, and hopefully that will carry us in good stead.
So, gentlemen, Powell, he speaks to the fact that, okay, the top stars are missing. This gives me, as a young player, the opportunity to step in and do what I have to do. Based on Powell's run in the CPL, and I mean, it wasn't just, I can't say it wasn't even an average performance. It was bad, very, very bad. Of course, it's average 11 in the CPL that just ended. Can he turn that form around within months? I mean, the CPL just ended.
He could, but his career up to this point has been littered with inconsistent performances. His batting average in T20 internationals is just 20.6 or something around that region. So he has a lot of work to do. He is one of those batsmen that when he scores a big innings, he looks awesome because he plays through the line really, really well. And on his best days, plays with a straight bat and just uses those drives, lofted drives, whether on the offside or onside. But he has flaws in his technique, and quite often bowling teams work him out and put him in real problems. And he isn't going to New Zealand, or he hasn't gone to New Zealand high on confidence based on, as you suggested, Mariah, his miserable CPL performance. A batsman of his potential would be embarrassed by a batting average of 11 for an entire CPL series. But let's see what he can do. I suspect that he has done a lot of work in the nets and so on to get himself ready here. But he has to turn his form around significantly because he hasn't been delivering. 2 or 3 years ago, many people looked at him as a potentially solid batting all-rounder for the West Indies, and he has not carried on.
George, how much time do you have for Rovman Powell?
It's running out. As Lance intimated, the promise around Rovman Powell coming into the West Indies fold was greater and still is greater than Rovman Powell's performance since becoming a full-fledged West Indies player. And the situation surrounding Rovman Powell is the reason I have a lot of sympathy for selectors at the level of Cricket West Indies, because here's the thing. The selectors at Cricket West Indies and even the West Indies Cricket West Indies management, they have done very well by Rovman Powell. What do I mean? They've kept faith with him despite a record that would see him sidelined by other prominent cricket-playing nations. And everything that they've done is to try to coax good performances, try to coax consistency out of Rovman. They've given this young man the captaincy. We forget on tour, Rovman Powell was captain for the West Indies. That when his performances, with bat and ball as an all-rounder, did not warrant that elevation. But it was a vote of confidence to say, young man, we believe in you, we see potential, we think you have performance ability with the bat, performance ability with the ball, that we think you are a motivator, a leader of men, go forward. So they've done everything for Rovman Powell. And I'm sure if and when Rovman Powell is dropped from the West Indies, you're going to hear people say the selectors are harsh. I'm just saying that this puts draws a line for me on the how the West Indies setup have been very kind to a young man who, we must be fair, his performances do not warrant him being a part of the team just the same. With that said, he still has a chance. With that said, Rovman Powell is not a proven campaigner, but a campaigner of some experience now. If Rovman Powell can't put together a sequence of good performances now based on his CPL performances, based on the time he has spent around the West Indies setup, if now is not the time, it never will be the time. And in my book, this perhaps could very well be last chance saloon for Rovman Powell. And I'm saying, if and when the selectors decide to try somebody else, you're going to hear a lot of hue and cry about why not give Rovman a chance.
There is also the discussion surrounding, of course, the reintroduction of fans in New Zealand. It's still ongoing, right? How does that now make it even more difficult for West Indies players? Because, I mean, we already know we have a task ahead, a big task, a big hurdle to get over. Now, with fans being there, and of course from New Zealand, how much more difficult will it be for our Windies men? Lance?
Well, I would suspect no fans would probably hurt New Zealand more than it would the West Indies, because New Zealand are the home team. And if you are the home team, one of the benefits of being the home team is having the crowd behind you.
Right.
So I wouldn't think that the West Indies would be offset too much by that. And of course, many of them were in England in the bubble as well and playing in front of empty stands. So I would suggest that New Zealand may be the team that would be less hurt by that. But I'm not sure how big the turnout will be, because there are some fans that are going to be allowed, we're told, but maybe not in the numbers that they're accustomed to.
George?
The Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has really led New Zealand admirably since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. There are many articles that have been written pointing out that those countries which have handled COVID-19 best are led by females. And it was always expected that New Zealand, which has had fans at rugby and has had fans at other sporting events, would have fans in limited numbers at cricket. We talk about the absence of fans and the impact on player performance in sport. Don't forget that even though they are on tour, the West Indies players would benefit, and the Australian, the New Zealand public is very knowledgeable about their cricket and very appreciative when they see quality being demonstrated. These batsmen from their youth days till now are used to being in a situation where you're on tour, you stroke a four through the covers, you hear polite applause. That too feeds into the psyche of a batsman and gives them some encouragement. You run down and you deliver a snorter as a faster bowler, or you beat the outside edge of the bat as a spinner. Even though you are on tour, the fans in the stands, ooh, ah, and that knowledge that you have done something good, that encourages you. So I'm just saying that the presence of fans, even in limited numbers, will have a positive effect on the visitors, and it will also have a catalyzing effect, one suspects, on the performance of the home team.
All right, definitely looking forward to that first match, November 27. We go to break and come back.